Yeah.
Good morning again. Detective, good morning again, sir. Do you acknowledge you are still under oath and still sworn to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Resumption of cross. Ms. Chernoff?
One of the things you testified to, Detective Smith, was that Detective Porcher interviewed Dr. Murray at the hospital.
Yes.
Is that right? And you said that Dr. Murray told Detective Porcher that he had given Michael Jackson a sedative. Is that right?
That's correct.
Detective Porcher also asked Dr. Murray if he would sign a death certificate. Isn't that right?
I don't recall that at that time.
Do you recall Detective Porcher telling you that Dr. Murray said that he would not sign a death certificate because an autopsy needed to be performed?
At some point in time, yes.
And you heard on the audio tape the interview with Dr. Murray, actually either you or Orlando Martinez was saying, yes, he said an autopsy needed to be performed, and you said, yes, that's what we heard, you said.
Correct.
Did you hear that from someone other than Detective Porcher?
I don't recall at this time.
Could it have been the family?
No.
In addition to interviewing Dr. Adams, first of all, your investigation encompassed at least 8 or 9 months. Is that right? The period of time?
Yes.
Okay. You were the lead investigator in this case?
Yes.
And during your investigation, did you have occasion to interview a woman by the name of Grace Rwamba? And I may be pronouncing that wrong.
Sustained. Call for hearsay 350 and 352.
Do you? Well, I don't want you to tell me what she said, but I would like to know: did you interview her?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Do you know who she is?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
The very first few minutes that you were at UCLA Hospital, you started taking notes. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that you wrote down were people that may have information about Michael Jackson, right? About his past, and isn't that what you did?
Oh, I spoke with Fahim Muhammad and Alberto Alvarez.
Were you given the name of Grace Rwamba from them?
At some point in time, I don't know if it was the hospital that night on the evening of the June 25th, 2009.
There was just a little distraction from overhead. I see some of you wondering now. I don't think it's continuing. Let us know. All right.
Let us look at the very first page of notes that you created in this case. It was June 25th, 2009. Is that right?
Objection relevant.
Overruled.
The first day I started taking notes on this case?
Yeah, June 25th, 2009.
Yes, sir.
At the hospital, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, on the fourth page of your notes, you write down Grace Rwamba's name.
Objection relevant.
Are you
Sustained. Do you want to make an offer of proof, Mr. Chernoff? I'll be happy to hear it at cipher.
okay, Judge?
No? Yes?
Yes, I think we'd like to talk
All right,
about that.
please.
During your investigation, Detective Smith, did you ever have occasion to interview Dr. Arnold Klein.
Objection relevant.
Sustained. 350, 352.
Did you interview any other doctors in this case besides Dr. Murray?
Objection relevant.
Overruled. You may answer.
We know about Dr. Adams. Did you interview any other doctors besides Dr. Murray and Dr. Adams?
Yes.
One of the things that you had mentioned was that you searched Dr. Murray's car. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you recall the conversation. It was kind of muddled in the audio tape, but you recall the conversation with Dr. Murray about his car on June 27th, 2009?
That's correct.
And Dr. Murray said, no, just go search my car. Here are my keys. Do you remember him giving you the keys to the car?
Ultimately, we got him, yes.
It was he arranged to get you the keys. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you used those keys.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Prior to executing the search warrant on his office in Houston, Texas, let me ask you this question first. Did you personally go to Houston, Texas for that search warrant?
No, sir, I did not.
Detective Myers did.
Yes,
Orlando Martinez flew in for that, right?
that's correct.
Prior to executing that search warrant, a week after executing that search warrant, you executed another search warrant on his office in Las Vegas. Is that right?
I'd have to look at the exact date, but that sounds about right.
And you executed a search warrant at his home on the same day that you executed the search warrant on his office in Las Vegas, right?
Yes, sir.
And during the search of his home, you obtained his cell phone. Is that right?
It was recovered, yes.
And computers from both offices? Computer hard drives from both offices?
Hard drives, yes, sir.
Paperwork? Lots of paperwork, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Paperwork involving Dr. Murray's practice at those particular offices, right?
Yes.
All right. You found out that, let me ask you these, if you've interviewed these people during your investigation, did you ever speak with a man named Dr. Tomei Tomei?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Were you aware that Dr. Tomei Tomei was involved in changing out?
Relevance.
All right. Sustained. We'll go to another subject area under 350 and 352.
How about Patrick Muhammad? Did you interview him?
I don't recall.
He was a security guard at the house on the 25th of June. You know that, right?
Yes, but I don't know if I don't believe that I interviewed him.
Did anybody?
I'm not sure.
How about Isaac Muhammad, another security guard at the house?
That sounds familiar, yes.
Did anybody interview Isaac Muhammad?
I believe so.
Would there be notes of that?
There should be. If he was interviewed, yes.
What about Derek Cleveland? Did anybody interview him?
I spoke with him.
Did you do an interview form for Derek Cleveland?
No.
Did you make notes of your interview with Derek Cleveland?
I spoke with him briefly and took notes, yes, sir.
On part of your investigation, you met with a coroner. Is that right?
Yes.
And you actually, on more than one occasion, you had meetings at the coroner's office with Dr. Rogers and Elisa Fleek and others that were involved in this investigation. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You said last week that this death investigation became was not a homicide investigation until later. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
When was it a homicide investigation?
Late August, it was deemed a homicide.
And when you say late August, would that be the 27th of August?
That sounds about right, yes, sir.
Okay. You recall that Ed Winter at the coroner's office was investigating other doctors, right?
Relevance.
Sustained under 350 and 352.
You recall that there was a tussle, a fight between the coroner's office and your Lieutenant Strink over their investigation.
Objection. Relevant 352. Counsel's testifying.
Overruled on that ground.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, there was some discussion.
Lieutenant Strink contacted Ed Winters and said, stop looking into other doctors, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I want to talk about a meeting that you had at the coroner's office on August 7th. You have those notes?
Let me check, if I may. Yes, I do.
These are your handwritten notes that you're reviewing?
They are.
Who was present at that meeting with the coroner's office?
Dr. Lakshmanan, DA Bill Hodgman, DA Joey Esposito, Dan Anderson, who testified the other day, supervisor in toxicology, Jamie Lintonmoot, who works toxicology, my partner, Detective Dan Myers, and Orlando Martinez.
Was Selma Calmus also there? Dr. Calmus?
Have to check further. I don't know if she's on that one or not.
May I approach the witness?
If you think it'll help.
It might.
The witness is looking through his notes. Let's see if his memories are correct.
Yes, she was.
She was. She is the coroner's anesthesiology consult. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
And was she asked during that meeting who the experts in the world are with regard to propofol?
Sustained.
Was there any discussion about obtaining experts?
Objection. Calls for hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The pictures that were shown of Dr. Murray from the video, you recall that testimony today? They showed
In the hospital?
Well, do you remember Mr. Walgren showed you pictures, still pictures of Dr. Murray?
In the hospital, yes.
This was taken from a complete video, was it not?
Yes.
It's a video of Dr. Murray, not just a still, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Judge.
Sure enough, thank you. Redirect examination, Mr. Waldman.
Detective, can you explain, you were asked about a discussion between your lieutenant, Lieutenant Strink, and the coroner's office. You indicated there was some comment made by the lieutenant that Ed Winters should stop looking at other doctors, or words to that effect?
Yes.
Okay. And can you elaborate and explain to the jury what you meant by that?
Yes. Specifically, our lieutenant was making reference to was Assistant Chief Ed Winter from the coroner's office contacting Dr. Arnold Klein specifically because we had other entities, if you will, that were looking into Dr. Klein in his dealings. And so there would be some, perhaps,